Welcome to Growing Up Boomer. I'm your host, Padre, with my co-host, Professor. And this podcast is dedicated to the life and times of the baby boomer generation. The show is loosely scripted, and sometimes we'll go down rabbit holes, and where it leads us to, one will never know. This podcast can be informative, funny, and sometimes irreverent. But most of all, we hope you find it entertaining. Professor, how's it going?
Oh, I'm doing well, Padre. What's up with you?
Oh, man, you know what? I want to tell you, I finally saw that movie, Ballerina.
Oh, you're so lucky. That was just exactly what you wanted to see, wasn't it?
Oh, come on. Not only me, but Kathy as well.
Okay, yeah. Well, there was more than 469 deaths?
Oh, no. That takes a few movies, but,
Oh, okay.
What I love about it, and, of course, it comes from the world of John Wick.
Right.
What I love about it, just like John Wick 2, it gets into more of all the organization and what they do and things like that. Runs with a cult, and it was awesome.
It sounds like it gives you more of the reasons why he does what he does.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And he's in it. He's in it, and then you find out, well, he's such a lovable assassin.
Oh, that's sweet.
Everybody loves this guy. Everybody loves this guy, and they just can't, help but like him.
Yeah.
I recommend it highly. If you get a chance, it'll probably be coming on the services very soon. You get a chance.
Yeah. Okay. I may watch that. Okay. I know. Actually, my nephew would like to watch it, so I'll probably end up watching it.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, some sad news. We did Mick Ralph's Bad Company.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. He passed away on June 23rd. Now, the thing about him was that he was also on Mott the Hoople.
Right.
You remember him?
I remember Mott the Hoople. Yeah.
all the way to Memphis.
Yeah. I mean, I remember the name. I don't remember their stuff, but yeah.
Oh, they were a great group, man. You need to go on Spotify, iHeart, or whatever, and see some of their music. I think you like it. Bobby Sherman also passed away as well.
Yeah.
On 24th.
He was a heartthrob, right?
Yeah, 81 years old.
Okay.
And he was just if you remember, Here Come the Brides. He was on that, but a big teen idol. I mean, this guy was on the cover of Teen Beat almost every other month. Had hair. Well, we all had hair.
That's a good, Back then, you know what? I had hair then. Yeah, absolutely. I remember that. Yeah.
And he had the big swoop, and it came down, and they was just, the girls just loved him. The teenage girls loved him. But the funny thing about him is he left acting and singing, and he was a police officer and a paramedic.
Okay.
Well, so he was a good. You know what? I don't think we mentioned this though. Do you remember? And I don't know if you remember this, but they're very influential, getting me into music. Peter Yarrow.
Oh, Peter Yarrow, that was
too. Yeah, the Peter, Paul, and Mary.
Yeah.
Remember, what was it? If I Had a Hammer.
If I had, it's funny because you bring them up. To this day, okay, if I want music and I want to kind of just like get kind of nostalgic and kind of be upbeat and so on, I'd put on Peter, Paul, and Mary. I'd put on what's the other group? Anyway, I put them on. Okay.
Mamas and Papas.
Mamas and Papas. Yeah. Okay. Mamas and Papas. Okay. And I just, it makes me happy. I don't know what else to tell you. So they're missed.
Yeah. The Puff the Magic Dragon.
Puff the Magic Dragon, live by the sea. Yeah. Yep. I know. Good stuff.
Yeah. Everybody thought that was about drugs.
Yeah. Well, back in the 60s, of course. What else would it be?
Yeah, but it was about lost childhood.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It was kind of like it was against the Vietnam War and kind of like lost childhood, how you have to grow up so quickly in the 60s.
Yeah.
You realize that. So.
Yeah, a lot of those songs in the 60s had a lot of real meaning to them. Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. I'm thinking of Dylan songs too, as far as that's concerned.
They were very heavily influenced by Bob Dylan.
Yeah.
He was really good.
Yeah, anybody else did you want to mention that passed away?
No.
Okay, because I got to tell you, this is only the listeners are going to think we're the obituary squad here. I mean,
But the reason why I mention these people, because a lot of times they don't get mentioned, and they were a very big influence at the time. I mean, think about all the people that we don't know or that we know, but have forgotten by time.
Oh no, I'm just making Josh. Okay, yes, I think it's important to bring them up because they were boomers like us, and they were meaningful. They had meaning and so on, and contributed to the world and so on and so forth. Yeah, just the more I hear of them, it's more like it's making me feel like, wow, I'm getting closer to those ages where those people are dying. It's kind of like Anyway,
let's put it this way: sometimes we're past those ages.
Yeah, I know that. In many instances, we're past those ages. So. Okay, well, I'm going to keep my exercises going. How's that?
Yeah, well, you know what? After seeing that Keith Richards and Willie Nelson are still alive, and what's his name? Who used to do the Sweating with the Oldies? Ooh. Richard Simmons passed away.
Richard Simmons passed away. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm starting to rethink about exercise and diet.
Okay.
How in the world can Keith Richards still be alive?
Just genetics, baby. Just genetics. It's got to be genetics. So yeah, interesting. So crazy stuff. So yeah.
Hey, what do you say we get into our podcast?
Yeah, this should be a good one.
All righty. As you know, we want to cover Muhammad Ali.
Yes. I am the greatest.
He had several nicknames.
Oh yes, absolutely, several nicknames. Yep. Yeah, he did.
Yeah. The greatest is the one he's been tagged with, but the Louisville Lip was another.
Yep, he had that. Yeah. He was a character. I mean, I remember him. We're going to talk about all this stuff, but I remember him. I was 11 years old when I started listening to him back at the Olympics, and we'll talk about that a bit too. But and then started to follow his career and everything else. And there's a lot to talk about. He was born in 42, and he lived till 2016. And had an interesting childhood, which I think you might talk about a little bit. And then he was married 4 times, had 9 kids, I think 5 grandkids. So yeah, he had an incredible career, and started out very. Growing up and to be a boxer, but then once the Vietnam War happened and all of that, which we'll talk about, he started to become a little bit bigger than boxing. In fact, a lot bigger than boxing, and we'll talk about that. But he was born in Louisville, Kentucky.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He was born also in the Louisville, Kentucky during the segregation.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Back since 42, very segregated.
Yeah. So he was quite. He was well aware of the issues that Black America had to go through. Very aware of that. But his boxing career, I mean, 61 fights, 56 wins, only had 5 losses. And a few of those came late when he should not have been boxing.
Yeah, the last 2. You lost the last 2, I think.
Yes. Yeah. Do you remember he lost that one to Larry Holmes?
Larry Holmes
just beat him to a pulp. And I didn't know if you know this, but Larry Holmes was Muhammad Ali's sparring partner for 4 years.
Yep.
Yep. And so he had great respect for Muhammad Ali, and he was during the press conference after the fight. Muhammad Ali had sunglasses on because he beat him so bad.
Right.
And Larry Holmes, all he did was talk about accolades about Muhammad Ali, and Muhammad Ali said, "If you like me so much, why did you beat me so bad?"
That's Ali for you. Yeah. Crazy.
He was quite the entertainer, but he really wasn't that way in private life.
Yeah, he was different in private life. He was way more serious and so on. Yeah, I don't remember. He had siblings. He must have.
Yes, he did. He had a brother.
A brother. Okay. Got it.
And then he was. The thing about him was that when he was very young, he was the way he got into boxing was that his bike was stolen.
His bike was stolen. That's right. Exactly. Mm-hmm.
And so he went to the Louisville police, and the gentleman, the policeman, was named Joe E. Martin.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was just crying like he couldn't believe his bike was stolen and stuff like that. So this guy, you ran like a youth center, boxing center.
Mm-hmm.
Encouraged him. He was 12 years old
Mm-hmm.
to come and learn how to box because of the fact that when you find out who took your bike, you're probably going to have to fight for it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, an officer basically said, what you're going to do is you're going to whoop the thief.
Yeah. There you go. Whoop your. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
there was back then there was no, well, we need to talk about this. You're going to whoop you and that's it.
It wasn't the 60s yet. Yeah. No.
Yeah. Yeah. This was way back when.
Way back. Yeah. And in the South, you know, so yeah, it's a totally different story. Yeah.
So yeah, but as an amateur, he started as amateur in 1954.
Mm-hmm.
And he won like 6 Gold Glove titles.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 2 national Golden Glove titles, amateur, amateur athletic union titles. I mean, this guy was unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
And he had like 100 fights as an amateur.
Wow.
And 100 wins and 5 losses. I should say it over 100 fights, 100 wins and 5 losses.
Yeah, that's more. Yeah.
You know, I mean, of course, they're shorter bouts and they wear the headgear.
Yeah, the headgear, but still, okay.
But,
just even being in 100 fights, never mind winning or losing.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And as you know, in I think 1984, 85, he was diagnosed with Parkinson's.
Right. Yeah.
It is believed that he had been hit in the head over 200,000 times during his career.
Wow.
You know, well, you think about 100. I mean, how many times are you getting hit in each fight?
Yeah. Well, enough. Obviously enough. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That was too bad. I mean, he tried to hang in there with that Parkinson's too, and still tried to do things, but yeah.
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 He was unbelievable. But yeah, he was, and of course, growing up in the South, you can understand how he felt. He saw, and by that time, the rise of, shall we say, radical African Americans were coming about, mm-hmm. and he gravitated to Malcolm X.
He did.
And they became very, very close.
They were very good friends. Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And then, matter of fact, before he became Muhammad Ali, he changed his name to Cassius X.
Yes. Cassius.
And it was Elijah Muhammad, the leader of the Muslim, Muslim. Well, they used to call them Black Muslims.
The Black Muslims.
He was the one who named Cassius Clay Muhammad
Ali. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Which means praiseworthy one or praise exalted one.
Mm-hmm.
Because the name is everything. Is everything in the Muslim world.
And the Muslim world name has a lot. Yeah, it's very important.
He felt that his name, Clay, was the name of a white man, of the white man. And he was not, and he was very radical back then.
No, absolutely. Yeah, changing your name back then was a big deal.
Mm-hmm. And so they named him, so he was named by Elijah Muhammad Ali.
Mm-hmm.
In which case, it was very funny. Did you ever see the movie Ali with Will Smith?
Yes.
Yeah, that was, they say that is probably one of the best depictions movies of Ali.
Yes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so it was really unbelievable. And the fact of the matter is, like we talked about, he really wasn't that flamboyant, and you could tell the way that when he was later in life, when he didn't have to be who he had to be. But
sure, he
met Gorgeous George.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you remember the wrestler Gorgeous George.
I do remember the wrestler Gorgeous George. You met,
I remember my dad talking about him because I was still kind of more into baseball, and my dad was into wrestling, something fierce. I remember the names Freddie Blassie,
Boy, that rings a bell too.
Yeah,
And it's not like I was really into wrestling, but
yeah,
still, well, no, for a little while I was, yeah.
yeah. But he was into that time, and Gorgeous George, he just wanted to see him lose so bad because he had that long blonde hair, real
Oh yeah.
curly, and so he had met with Ali. Ali says that they met in 1961.
Mhm.
In which case he told Ali, he says, people come through the gates. I can fill the stadium with people who either want to see me win or they
Mhm.
want to see me lose.
Mhm.
So Ali picked that up and he started
Mhm.
talking smack, shall we say,
Right.
to
Right.
fighters. Because he said that, hey, no one comes to see a nice guy.
Right.
And so the point being is that not only was he a great fighter, but what he did for the heavyweight division was unbelievable. Because until then, I mean, everybody watched fighting and everything like that, but it didn't draw the crowds that Ali was able to draw.
Well, I mean, for the heavyweight division, but for boxing in general.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
in general, absolutely. Because
Yeah.
other boxers would start to pick up some of that stuff too.
Mhm.
Some of the shenanigans that he did, but nobody could do it like him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. He's incredible.
Some of this. Oh, and then there was one story one time. He was on Dick Cavett, and he used to say stuff, but this was good. I saw this interview. It's even, in fact, it's even on YouTube. And he said that here he wins a championship over Sonny Liston.
Right.
Right. He says, my grandfather fought in the war. My dad fought in the war. I am the world champions. I am the world champ. I go to this restaurant and they tell me, I'm sorry, we don't serve Negroes here.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, I looked at the waitress and said, no problem. I don't eat them. I just want a hot dog and shake.
Yeah. He is a character. He is a character.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah. Yeah. Well, of course, we're going to start talking about the Vietnam War issue. I'm not sure if there's anything else you want to talk about, but
yeah, what we want to say is that because this really didn't start until after he had completed the fight with Sonny Liston.
It was after that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You remember he used to trash talk, and Sonny Liston basically thought that, you know what, he saw Ali fight and he said, you know what, if I fight this guy, they're going to have to arrest me for murder.
Yeah.
Because he thought he could take Ali no problem. At the time known as Cassius Clay.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he was Cassius Clay at the time. Yes, absolutely.
Because he said he was not going to change his name to Cassius X till after the fight.
Right.
Because he wanted to make sure he brings a lot of people in there. And if you remember, he hired Angelo
Dundee. Angelo Dundee.
Yeah. Angelo Dundee.
And Angelo made the difference, I'll tell you.
Yes, he did.
He was an amazing trainer.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Oh yeah, yeah. And you know that the Ali and Sonny Liston fight. I mean, he's already established himself, but he's come through the ranks and he's gotten hit a few times and he's been knocked down. But the fact was a major upset. It was unbelievable.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and and then the thing was that it's like at the beginning of the third round, Clay hits Liston with a combination that actually buckled this guy's knees and it cut him over the left eye, and this guy's never been cut before. And then they were saying that if you remember, at the end of the fourth round, when Clay returned to
the corner.
To his corner. Remember, his eyes were burning.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there was blinding pain, and they believe that it might have been from the ointment to close Liston's cut. And some have even debated that it may have been put on the inside of the gloves on purpose.
Okay.
To get, when they're in
they're in a hole. Yeah.
And so during the entire fifth round, basically, Muhammad Ali, or Cassius Clay at the time, is blind. He can't see. So Sonny Liston tries to get him, tries to knock him out in the doesn't happen.
Right.
Does not happen. He's able to come back in the sixth, right? And then they're able to, and then Clay just really gives him a beating, in which case Sonny Liston then does not come out for the seventh round.
Right. Yeah.
Everybody goes crazy. Right? And what does he do? What does Muhammad Ali do? He rushes to the ropes, hangs on the ropes, and he's telling the reporters, "Eat your words. Eat your words." Remember, that's a scene where his mouth's open.
Yeah.
The greatest, eat your words.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And what is the other one? He says, "I'm the prettiest thing that has ever lived."
Yeah, I'm the prettiest. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and some of his other things like fly like a butterfly, sting like a bee, and do shuffling his feet and all that other stuff. Yeah.
And then there was a ringside, post fight where they interview him, and they were saying the reason why Liston didn't come out wasn't because of the cut over his eye, is because he threw out his shoulder. Right? He threw out his shoulder, and then Muhammad Ali kind of scoffs. He threw out his left arm. He says, "Yeah, when you're swinging at nothing, who wouldn't?" And then
crazy.
Then that's when he changed his name, and then they had another fight scheduled for the. And by the way,
you're talking about the rematch.
Yeah, the rematch. But before the rematch, this made up to that time Clay or Muhammad Ali the youngest boxer to take a title from a reigning heavyweight champ at 22. Lloyd Patterson was younger at 21, but it was an elimination bout because Rocky Marciano had retired. And that record held till 1986 when Mike Tyson broke the record. He was 20 years old. Yeah, and he defeated what was his name? Trevor Burbeck.
Yeah.
Trevor,
I think that was it. Yeah.
Matter of fact, who defeated Ali? That was Ali's last fight.
Yeah, it was his last fight. Yeah, because that's right. Because he came in and did it afterwards. He went. Yep, exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Was that the ear he ate? Burbeck's ear? I forget. Whose ear did he bite off?
Oh no, that was Mike Tyson. Who was that? It wasn't Ken Norton.
Oh,
who
was it Norton? I don't remember.
Might have been.
Might have been.
I used to like the joke about that where they did Earios. He used to have a bowl of ears and said the Earios. And Mikey likes it.
Breakfast of Champions. Mikey likes it. Yeah. Oh God, I'll tell you.
And I want to say it was Norton, but I could be wrong.
Yeah. I don't remember. Norton sounds about right, but it's a very familiar. I don't know. I don't know.
But yeah. So they ended up fighting again.
Right. The rematch.
And then that's the one where it had the phantom punch.
I think that was the one with the phantom punch.
Yeah, it was like 2 minutes, and then he's down.
Right.
And then referee, his name was Jerry Joe Walcott.
Okay.
He didn't begin the count immediately after the knockdown because Ali refused to go to his corner. He's running around and says, get up, man.
Yeah.
And if you remember, Sonny Liston's kind of rolling around and he's getting up, and he does get up. But what ends up happening was the ringside ref says, this fight's over because he was down for 2 minutes. You did not start the count for over 20 seconds.
Yeah.
And so he would have easily been out, and they award the
TKO.
To him once again, to Ali once again.
Yeah.
And so that was but that was it. And then this is when it comes happening, is that you can understand that this is when Ali then is up for the draft.
Yep. And that was like in 1960, 61. No, 67. 67, along there, yeah.
He's up for the draft.
Yeah.
And then he's stripped of his title. And we'll get back into that. But I'm thinking these are 5 of his prime years that he was robbed from.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
66 to 71. That's his prime.
Right.
From 25 to about 30 years old.
Well, he was still fighting until he was convicted.
He only fought 3 fights, and they were really they were just almost like tune-up fights.
Yeah, well, he was tuning up for something big, but yeah, and then all that other stuff happened.
And he couldn't fight a contender because he had to fight these fights just in order to get money.
Right.
And the fact of the matter is, he was stripped of his boxing abilities. He couldn't fight anyone that was really a contender because of the fact that they wouldn't allow him to. So he had to, and he couldn't leave the country to fight because they stripped him of his passport.
Right. And all that's a result of his conscientious objection, and he refused to go to the war. I mean, at that particular point in '67, because he was convicted in June of '67, and of course, it took a while to get there, but it all happened. But Vietnam was raging at that particular point, and he just saw it as an exercise in genocide, and so he started to really get into all of that. And a quote of his, I'm going to have to read it because I don't memorize it, but he was trying to connect the war abroad with the war at home, saying, "Why should they ask me to put on a uniform and go 10,000 miles from home and drop bombs and bullets on brown people in Vietnam, while so-called Negro people in Louisville are treated like dogs?" I mean, that sums up his perspective.
Yeah.
And, pretty much. So, of course, that and a few other things that he did and said, the judge, he got the maximum sentence of 5 years and $10,000. And then it started taking off. I mean, it's, boxing kind of sort of took went behind the scenes, if you will. And so he was top story, and it became top story for quite a while. And it was very political because the administration was concerned and worried that he developed into an anti-war hero, and build a resistance. And in fact, interestingly enough, the day that he was convicted, Congress voted 337 to 29 to extend the draft for 4 more years. And they also voted 385 to 19 to make it a federal crime to desecrate a flag, because their fears were just really, really, they were well founded on a rising, anti-war sentiment, which is the tipping point. '67 was the tipping point of all of that, with everything that's going on, in the Southeast, the Tet Offensive, the 1,000 Vietnamese were dying a day, non-combatants. There was a lot going on. And so I guess the judge and the administration were just thinking just a really strong rebuke of Ali would help maybe put out the fire, but opposite took place. He just kept on fanning the flames and fanning the flames. And so, what he said, I have to read this again because he appealed to conviction. "I strongly object to the fact that so many newspapers have given the American public and the world the impression that I have only 2 alternatives in this stand. Either I go to jail or go to the army. There's another alternative, and that alternative is justice. If justice prevails, if my constitutional rights are upheld, I will be forced to go neither to the army nor jail. In the end, I am confident that justice will come my way, for the truth must eventually prevail." And so that's happened. And of course, they had already stripped his title, and he was a 3.5-year exile, as you related to. And at that point, though, because you were talking about Elijah Muhammad and the Nation of Islam, how they become very, very close. Well, when all that happened, they started to distance themselves from very, very famous member. And he was taking a lot of stuff in the press, a lot of negative stuff in the press. But, it became a worldwide phenomenon, his conscious objection and what he did, because there was protests in Guyana, in Pakistan, Cairo, London, and an Irish boxing fan named Paddy Monaghan began a long and lonely picket of the U.S. Embassy. And that's when he really began to think of himself more than a boxer, and somebody who had a bigger responsibility to the world, and to try to convey certain things. And he said, this is one thing that kind of attests to that: "Boxing is nothing, just satisfying to some bloodthirsty people. I am no longer Cassius Clay, a Negro from Kentucky. I belong to the world, the black world. I'll always have a home in Pakistan, in Algeria, in Ethiopia. This is more than money. And so, I mean, there was definitely, even though when he got back into the ring, okay, subsequently, he got back to his old shenanigans and stuff that he was doing, and the theatrics and everything else. The reality is, outside the ring, he was very serious about this stuff, and he conveyed that very, very well and articulately, and the response was incredible. And then I guess in 1971, the war sentiment had changed now, okay, and the Supreme Court overturned his conviction. And so one more thing, and then I'll let you chime in if you have something to add. But he said he had no regrets. Some people thought I was a hero. Some people said that what I did was wrong. But everything I did was according to my conscience. I wasn't trying to be a leader. I was just wanted to be free. And I made a stand all people, not just black people, should have thought about making, because it wasn't just black people being drafted. The government had a system where the rich man's son went to college and the poor man's son went to war. Then after the rich man's son got out of college, he did other things to keep him out of the army until he was too old to be drafted. So he was very, very articulate and germane and to the point about what was going on at that time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What did he used to say? My enemy is the white people, not the Viet Cong or the Chinese or the Japanese.
Yep.
My oppressor when I want freedom.
Yep.
You're my oppressor when I want justice. You're my oppressor when I want equality. You won't even stand up for me in America for my religious beliefs. You want me to go somewhere and fight, but you won't even stand up for me here at home.
Right. Yep.
So that was, and you have to remember too, and then in the experience of racism for the black community is a lot different than racism for any other races. I understand his anger, and then him hanging around Malcolm X just intensified that. But the thing is that it is very funny, because you're right. The Islam or the Muslims, or they would call them black Muslims, veered away from him.
They did. Yeah. Oh yeah, they wanted to get away from him. Yeah.
And of course they wanted back once he was back in the the limelight. But the fact of the matter is, I think Ali was not a follower of Islam. What he was a disciple of Islam, and there's a difference.
There's a big difference. Yes.
I mean, he believed in the charity. I mean, he gave most of his money away. It is believed, as much money as he's given away, he has fed over 22 million people during his lifetime. And when he gave the money away, it wasn't the way they rich, like a lot of rich people do. They say, I'm giving all my money to charity. Well, they give it to charities that they're sitting on the board of directors and their families are running it.
Right.
Ali gave his money to charities that actually were helping people and that had a good track record of helping.
Sure. Of course.
He was a very good humanitarian and very reflective as he got older in life. He used to say that God had not punished him, but had made sure that he was afflicted with Parkinson's so he can become more humble.
Yeah, that's a philosophical thing that I could see. Yeah, absolutely.
So he was uplifting in that aspect. People, no matter what religion, no matter what color, later in life should be like Ali. Right.
Well, it didn't go to his head. You would think so earlier in the years when the flamboyancy in the ring, but once all that other stuff happened, he matured. He got serious, and he gave back. Yeah, he did. Yeah.
And then the thing was, it was so funny was that he was listed. He had failed the U.S. Armed Forces to qualify. He did physically, but his writing and spelling skills were substandard for the U.S. Armed Forces. And that was due, of course, to his dyslexia.
Right.
But he said, because when the press pressed him on that, his quote was that, "Hey, I said I was the greatest. I didn't say I was the smartest."
Yeah. It was good character. He gave back a lot. He really does.
Yeah.
I mean, the excitement and everything else from the sports side of it, and just all the thrills and following his career and watching the fights and all that kind of stuff was great. But the way he turned out to be a good human being, if you will, and trying to promote, yeah, it's good.
He was very, very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and during that time, he had recruited a lot of anti-war protesters like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, right? And, like James Brown, Al Sharpton. I mean, all of these guys, Martin Luther King. I mean, they all rallied around him.
Sure.
For his bravery, and he was very, very sought after.
Okay, remind me, was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, was he Lou Alcindor?
Yes, he was.
Okay, right. Okay.
Played for UCLA.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
I think, he also converted. I believe Kareem Abdul-Jabbar stands for Servant of the Most High.
I believe you.
Yeah, I believe that's what it is. I always look at this stuff. It just sticks in my head. I say, I wonder what that means. I'm just one of those guys that just, you wonder. You say, we changed his name. What does that mean? And that was it. So, and the FBI, under J. Edgar Hoover.
Right.
I mean, this guy was being recorded left and right.
Yep.
And they were, what was it? One of the things that they were doing was they were always trying to figure out who should represent the Black community. If they didn't meet our criteria, we don't think they should, so it was awful. They're just awful. But yeah, there was a lot of protesting going on. And
absolutely, a lot.
And I'm sure we'll talk about civil disobedience and things of that nature as we go on. But and then of course, he had won the Supreme Court had given him the okay that he was innocent,
right?
And because of religious conscientious objector,
right? And
then what happens? Then you have the super fight.
Yep.
Yeah, Joe Frazier.
You talk about the Thriller in Manila.
Oh, that was the second one.
That was the second one. Yeah, that's right. Fight of the century. That was the first one. Yeah.
That was the first one. Fight of the super fight.
Yeah.
I think it was Madison Square Gardens.
Yep.
That one was, and I remember them talking with Ali and talking to Angelo Dundee, and they were saying that fighting Joe Frazier, this guy will take 5 or 6 hits to the head before he lands one on you. And it was tough to fight because you think you got him on the ropes, and all of a sudden here comes a punch, boom.
Yeah,
that was his style. He'd take 4 or 5 hits to the head. You think you got him, and then here he comes.
Yeah,
and then Ali that was his first loss as a professional.
Right.
And then he came back, and he fought. And that's what you're talking about.
Yeah,
the Thriller in Manila.
Yep. Yeah, that was cool. I got an opportunity to watch that in the Madison Square Garden. Went down there with a couple of my friends, and we saw it on the big screen. Yeah, it was all closed, circuited in, and so on. Yeah, that was exciting too.
Yeah,
it was kind of like being there.
Oh, I can imagine. Imagine. Now, that was kind of a new thing too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's how big he was. He's able to draw the crowds.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, it was full. Okay, my MSG was full. It definitely was a full garden. So yeah. So yeah. And then Floyd Patterson, he had all that, and then Kenny Norton. Of course, Kenny beat him the first time, if I recall correctly.
Yes, you are correct. Broke his jaw.
Yep.
The other one that you got to remember is the Rumble in the Jungle.
The Rumble in the Jungle. Yep.
That one was. Did you ever watch Joe Frazier fight George Foreman?
I think I did. I think I did. I don't remember the actual watching it, the fight, but I think so, because I at that particular time, I was interested in that stuff. I was following it. Yeah. Yeah.
He was the hardest puncher. You know what I did is I went back and I said, oh, you know what? I'm going to go on YouTube and see if I can find that fight with Joe Frazier. I just remembered, it was one of those, and I remember that when he laid a punch on Joe Frazier, that George Foreman picked Joe Frazier off the ground with a punch. I mean, he went off, literally off his feet, off the ground. That guy hit so hard. You know, he was unbelievable. I mean, what a puncher! And as a matter of fact, he just passed away not too long ago.
Not too long ago. That's right.
2025. I'm trying to think. I can't remember what month, but yeah, he did the old rope-a-dope and just let George Foreman tire.
Yeah, I remember the rope-a-dope stuff. Yep, he did. Yep, he tired him out, and then put him out.
Yeah. Or George Foreman just went down. I'm tired. I need a rest, man.
I'm giving you everything. I've given you. Oh, yeah, I know. Yeah.
They're watching, they would send, of course, when they're training, especially back in, I think it was Zaire, they used kind of like the same training room. And one of the trainers for Ali would get there before Foreman. And he said he would watch Foreman on the heavy bag. And he said, this guy was just pounding this bag. Somebody had to hold it. And he pounded it, and he pounded over and over again. And he said when he was done, he says there was like a divot in the punching bag about that big. That's how hard he hit. And he was able to, and how Ali was able to that punishment that he had to take was just unreal. And so and then he became as he went through, for instance, Jimmy Carter. Jimmy met him, Ronald Reagan. Matter of fact, Jack Reagan for the presidency. 84, I believe. And so he did a lot of politics and stuff like that. But Thriller and Manila. Oh, he was just, some of the stuff he used to say was just, did you ever did you watch the what was it when he did the wrestler, the Japanese wrestler?
I don't remember that.
Well, before he met this Japanese wrestler, he decided he would they had worked out a thing on the wrestling, the wrestling federation. And so he goes up and he starts talking smack to this guy called Gorilla Monsoon. Now this guy, I don't know if you remember him. This guy is 6'7", 440 pounds.
Wow.
Okay. They used to make him big. Remember Andre the Giant?
Oh, you mean Andre the Giant? Yeah, really. Whew.
Guy was Gorilla Monsoon. And so Ali starts talking smack, takes off his jacket, and he's, fighting him. This guy picks him up, does the helicopter, and throws him to the mat. And he's stunned. He was like, and so they kind of rushed him out and say, okay, you've had enough. You've had enough. So yeah, he used to do promo stuff like that all the time. That was a big one. He fought some Taekwondo grandmaster and stuff like that. Some guy that's supposed to have learned from Bruce Lee. And so he was always doing promos and stunts and stuff like that. So
sure.
It was pretty interesting. But he would do anything to do, but that was it. Oh yeah, we talked about he also lost to Leon Spinks.
That's right.
Yeah, and
that was a surprise.
Yeah, that's what he was saying. He said he came out and said, "I did not train for this fight." But he made sure he got his crown back. That was for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the only heavyweight to ever get his crown back 3 times. Yep. So he was something. Yeah, I just enjoy listening about all of that. And some of the stuff that is great was all his quotes. His quotes were awesome.
Oh yeah, had lots of quotes. Like a butterfly, sting like a bee, and
And then you had that interesting quote too as well. You're writing about. He was actually a very, very. He was an artist as well. He actually starred in a few movies. He was something. Just a humanitarian, like I told you before.
Right. Yep.
Just always doing great stuff. Well, we're coming probably to an end, but we can't say enough about Ali.
Yeah.
First of all.
I think we kind of covered
Yeah,
the
I
bulk
have
of
to
it.
agree with you. I
Yeah.
think his legacy, we told his legacy is one that cannot will it'll be a long time before anybody matches that. Did
Absolutely.
you know he did recordings too?
Recordings of what?
Record.
Uh,
They say he is the inventor of hip hop.
that's the first I've heard that. I haven't heard
I
that.
wrestled with alligators, tussled with a whale,
Well, yeah.
handcuffed lightning, and thrown thunder in jail. And so he's got music in his.
Yeah. Okay, I get it.
Uh,
Yeah.
oh yeah, last week I murdered a rock, injured a stone, hospitalized a brick. I'm so mean, I make medicine sick. Oh,
Yeah.
and with Dick Cavett, oh, he was always on the Dick Cavett show, and
Mhm.
he would. I remember one time that they were kidding around, and so Dick Cavett's going to get in the ring with him. And you talk about two different looking people.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Just a small little
Yeah,
skinny.
looking up like that, right? Yeah.
Oh, and then you quoted. I think maybe we should end this one with some of his quotes. You
Okay.
already talked about float like a butterfly, sting like a bee.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
His hands can't hit what his eyes can't see.
Yep.
Now you see me, now you don't. George
Yep.
thinks he will, but I know he won't.
Yeah. Yeah. He had, those are the ring ones. He had other ones outside the ring. Some, service to others is the rent you pay for your room here on earth.
Yeah.
It isn't the mountains ahead to climb that wear you out. It's the pebble in your shoe.
Mhm.
A man who views the world the same at 50 as he did at 20 has wasted 30 years of his life.
Yeah.
That's pretty prophetic there. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. So,
Well,
Yep.
I'm young, I'm handsome, I'm fast, and I can't possibly be beat. I mean, that was one of his things.
yeah. Yeah. So confident and cocky. It was incredible.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, he's just a real life, big life personality.
It's hard to be humble when you're as great as I am.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, he's got them. He's got a lot of them.
Yep.
It's just a job. Grass grows, birds fly, right? Waves
Mhm.
pound the sand. I beat people up.
Straight to the point.
I'm not the greatest. I'm the double greatest. and this will be this one. It's not bragging if you can back it up.
That's true. That's
And
true.
this will be the last quote.
Okay.
Live every day as if it was your last, because someday you're going to be right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you know he was a poet as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. He tried his hands at a few different things. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And this one, I remember seeing him. I think it was on YouTube, and he was being interviewed in London, and it was called The Truth. And they asked him what your favorite poem is that you've written, and he says The Truth. And he just said this one, right? I mean, I can't remember what I had for breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy, he says, the face of truth is open, the eyes of truth are bright, the lips of truth are ever closed, the head of truth is upright. The breast of truth stands forward, the gaze of truth straight. Truth has never feared nor doubt. Truth has patience to wait. The words of truth are touching. The voice of truth is deep. The law of truth is simple. All that you sow, you will reap. The soul of truth is flaming. The heart of truth is warm. The mind of truth is clear and firm through rain or storm. Facts are but its shadow. Truth stands above all sin. Great be the battle in life. Truth in the end shall win. The image of truth is Christ. Wisdom measures its rod. Sign of truth is the cross. Soul of truth is God. Love of truth is eternity, immortal in its past. Power of truth will endure. Truth shall hold to the last. Muhammad Ali.
Well, yeah, that puts a wrap on it, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
It does.
You have a great one, my man.
Okay, you too. Talk next time.
All right. Bye-bye. We'd like to thank you for listening and remind you if you happen to have any baby boomer topics you'd like us to cover, just email us at growingupboomer@gmail.com. And until next time, may God bless.